Let's get real for a second. If you're watching this, you're not a freelancer. You're not a beginner. You're not here for motivation because you are an agency founder. You're already in the game. You're probably doing 5K, 20K, maybe 50 or even 100K a month. And here's the truth nobody tells you. You're working harder than ever, but your business still feels very fragile. Every project is custom. Every problem lands on your desk. You're the bottleneck, the safety net, and the last line of defense. You've tried the courses, the masterminds, the just send more cold emails advice. You've hired, you've fired, you've burned out, and you've come back. And yet, every time you try to scale, it just feels like you're adding more chaos. You're not lazy. You're not missing some secret hustle gene. You're just stuck in a business that relies on you for everything. And if you're honest with yourself, you and I both know this is not sustainable. Here's the real problem. It's not your effort. It's not your work ethic. It's not even your lead flow. It's the structure of your business. In fact, I'm going to ask you one question in a few minutes that will instantly tell you whether your agency is scalable or whether you've built yourself a high-paying job. And if your answer is yes, I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do to fix it. Most agency owners are trapped in a cycle of overwork and uncertainty because they're building the wrong foundation. They have no systems, no leverage, no real path to freedom. And the worst part, they're surrounded by advice that's either too basic, too tactical, or played wrong for where they are. So here's my promise to you. This is not a hype video. This is not a 10x your agency in 30 days pitch. This is a real strategy for real operators. And if you can't watch this video through to the end, this probably isn't for you. This video is for founders that don't have the attention span of a goldfish. If you do stay till the end, you'll walk away with the exact system map I use to diagnose any agency, and you'll know precisely why you're stuck and the sequence that you need to follow in order to fix it. Here's what you'll learn: why most agencies plateau and how to break through, the exact systems and structures you need to scale, how to build a business that's actually sellable and not a stressful job, and how to finally get your time, your freedom, and your leverage back. And if you don't know me, I'm Damiano. I've built 3 agencies from scratch. My first agency grew to over $8.4 million a year and was acquired by a publicly traded company. My second one hit $180,000 a month in 6 months and was also acquired. And my third and current agency is a systems-first, performance-based agency doing over $2 million a month. I've made every mistake you can possibly make in the book. I've been the bottleneck. I've been the guy working 80 hours a week, thinking more effort was the answer. And I've learned the hard way what actually works if you want to build something that actually lasts. This is for real founders, not freelancers, and not entrepreneurs. So if you're tired of noise, if you're tired of being the only thing holding your business together, if you're ready to build a real agency, one that scales, one that lasts, one that gives you leverage, you're in the right place. Here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll talk about the operator to CEO transition, why your agency can't scale if everything runs through you, and how to build leadership systems, decision frameworks, and an executive mindset so you can actually lead the company instead of being stuck in it. Second, we'll cover the profitable agency exit strategy, how to build your agency so it's attractive to buyers, even if you're not ready to sell it yet. I'll show you how to clean up your operations, position your agency for maximum valuation, and exit on your own terms when the time comes. And third, we'll get into holding company and acquisition strategy, how to stop relying on one income stream, acquire other businesses, and roll them into a private equity style holding company. This is about building real assets, not just cash flow, and increasing your long-term worth and stability. I'm even throwing in my secret sauce to scaling multiple agencies to 7 figures, an advanced strategy that once you master, you'll be unstoppable. So stay tuned. Let it take a few minutes to give you a real story, my story. Not because I want to flex, but because I want you to see the path that I took, the mistakes that I made, and the lessons I wish someone had given me years ago. I've built 3 agencies from scratch. Each one taught me something different about what it really takes to build a business that lasts. Agency 1, the scrappy operator. I started with about $400 in my pocket, no connections, no funding, just a willingness to outwork everyone. I did it myself. Sales, operations, delivery, client fires, late nights, weekends. If you've ever felt like you're the only thing holding your business together, I know exactly what that feels like. And after about 7 years, my agency was doing about $8.4 million a year. Around year 4, year 5, we were doing a steady 7 figures, and on paper, it looked like a huge success. But here's what you don't see. I tried every fix: courses, new hires, new tools, more hours. Nothing changed because the business still depended on me. The more I scaled, the more fragile it felt. Eventually, I hit a breaking point. I realized that if I kept growing this way, more revenue would just make my life worse. The problem wasn't effort, it was business design. This is where most agency owners stay stuck. I almost did it too. I was an operator, but not a CEO. And that was the trap. You can hustle your way to 1 million, but it's significantly harder to do it to 8 million. And if you're the bottleneck, you don't own the business. You own a job with a fancy title. Eventually, I realized something had to change. I started building out real systems, documenting processes, and slowly stepping back from the day-to-day. And in 2023, my agency was acquired by a publicly traded Canadian company. That exit was a milestone for me, but it was also a wake-up call. I saw firsthand that the value of your agency isn't just in the revenue, it's in how well it runs without you. Lesson 1. If you want to scale, you have to make the operator to CEO transition. You need leadership systems, decision frameworks, and an executive mindset. You have to build a company that runs without you. Agency 2, building for exit. After exiting my first agency, I knew it was time to start building again. This time, I wanted to do things differently. I focused on building sales systems. I hired closers, trained teams, and started to step back from the day-to-day right away. We scaled to about $180,000 a month within the first 6 months of launching. But here's what changed everything. I started thinking like a buyer, not just a founder. We cleaned up our books. We documented our operations. We defined our offer so clearly that anyone should understand it. And when a private equity firm came knocking, we were ready. My second agency was once again acquired, and that was 2 exits in 1 year. If you only built your agency for income, you'll eventually burn out. But if you build for value, you'll create options for yourself. Lesson 2, agencies can be positioned for exit. Clean books, clean operations, and a defined offer. That's what creates real valuation. Even if you're not ready to sell, you should build as if you are. Because when the time comes, you want to exit on your own terms. Once you think like a buyer, you will build differently. Agency 3, systems, leverage, and real assets. Today, I run my third agency. This agency is different. I built it for systems and not hustle. We use AI. We run lean. We focus on leverage, high-value clients, a small but elite team, and processes that scale. But here's the real shift. I stopped thinking about agency income as the end goal. Now I think about assets. My current agency isn't just a cash flow machine. And yes, there's a lot of cash flow at $2 million a month, but it's a platform for building real wealth. We're rolling up other agencies. We're acquiring businesses and folding them into a holding company. We're building something that lasts, something that can weather storms, create stability, and multiply value over time. Lesson 3, income is good, but assets are better. If you want real freedom, you need to think beyond cash flow. You need to build a holding company, acquire other businesses, and create real compounding value. This is where most agency owners stay stuck. I almost did it too. But if you want to build a real business that scales, that sells, and gives you leverage and freedom, you have to make these shifts. And if you don't want to do it alone, there's a link below. Sorry, I had to throw that in there. Okay, back to the video. So I've built 3 agencies, I sold 2, and now I help agency founders go beyond agency cash flow into real strategic ownership. If you're tired of being the bottleneck, if you want to build something that lasts, if you want to move from operator to CEO, position your agency for a profitable exit and start thinking like a true owner, you're in the right place. Let's break down exactly how to do it. The operator to CEO transition. Why agencies really get stuck. Here's the truth. Most agency owners don't make that transition. Not because they're lazy or unskilled, but because their business was never designed to scale. Let's break down why so many agencies, even the ones doing 20K, 50K, 100K a month, end up stuck. The house of cards analogy. Picture your agency like a house of cards. It might look impressive as you stack on more revenue, more clients, more projects, but the entire structure is built on a fragile foundation. You. Everything runs through the founder. Sales, delivery, strategy, hiring, problem solving, every decision, every fire, every opportunity. You're the single point of failure. It only takes one client loss, one sick week, or one key team member leaving for the whole thing to wobble, sometimes to collapse. I've seen agencies drop from 50K a month to 28K a month overnight because one single client churned and there was no systems to replace that revenue. That's not scale, that's volatility. Once you see this, you can't unsee it. and you won't build the same way again. Why growth feels heavier. Here's the paradox. Every win adds more weight. You land more clients, but that just means more fires to put out. You hit new revenue milestones, but now you're carrying even more stress. The business that was supposed to give you freedom starts to feel like a trap. Success for most agency owners actually feels worse than when they were making 8K a month. You're making more, but you're carrying more too. And the business feels even more fragile. This is where scale starts to feel heavier instead of easier. The real bottleneck is leverage, not leads. Most founders believe that more leads will solve their problems. But without the right systems, more leads just means more chaos. You don't need more leads. You need a better business model. If every new client, every new dollar, every new project still runs through you, you're not scaling. You're just stretching yourself thinner. I've watched agencies with strong sales pipelines still plateau or even shrink because the underlying structure couldn't support real growth. Reframing the stuckness. Let's be honest, the emotional pain is real. Burnout, fragility, overwork, and it's not a personal failing, it's a design flaw. You're not broken, your business model is. Once you fix the foundation, everything else will stop feeling so heavy. In the next section, I'll show you the 5 core levers of scalable agencies. The exact foundation you need to build if you want to break out of this cycle for good. So let's get into it. The 5 core levers of scalable agencies. Here's that question that I promised you at the beginning. If you disappeared for 14 days, would revenues stay stable or would everything start breaking? Be honest, because that answer tells you exactly what kind of business you've built. If it breaks, you don't have an agency yet. You have a founder-dependent machine. Now let's fix it. Let's talk about what that foundation actually looks like when it's built in the right way. Here are the 5 core levers of every scalable agency I've ever built. If you're feeling stuck, odds are you're missing one of these. 1. Offer clarity. Everything starts here. If your offer isn't clear, specific, and valuable, nothing else will scale. A strong offer does the heavy lifting in sales, positioning, and even fulfillment. Most agency owners think they have an offer problem, but what they really have is a clarity problem. If you can't explain what you do, who you do it for, and why it matters in one sentence, you're already behind. A good offer is outcome driven, not a list of services. It's specific, it's measurable, and it's differentiated. If this lever is broken, you'll notice a few things. Price sensitivity and constant negotiation with leads, custom proposals for every client, unclear delivery expectations, and scope creep. I've seen founders add 20K a month just by narrowing the offer and fixing the position. If your offer is not converting, it's not the leads, it's your clarity. Next is acquisition. Most agencies are stuck in the chase, always hunting the next client, always hustling for the next deal. But real scale comes from building systems that attract content, partnerships, warm audience plays. These are assets, not just activities. AI tools and organic strategies let you build lean, scalable inbound that doesn't rely on cold spam or brute force. Acquisition isn't about effort, it's about assets. If this lever is broken, here's what you'll notice. Referrals are your only source of business. Pipeline is inconsistent or random. Marketing feels like a guesswork, not a system. One founder I worked with went from a referral dry spell to a 3-month waiting list just because he started installing real acquisition systems. If you're feeling like you've always been chasing, always behind, this is probably the lever you're missing. 3. Sales process. Sales is where most mid-tier agencies stall. It's not about scripts or tricks, it's about certainty, tonality, framing, and trust. My philosophy is simple. Sales is trust, not tactics. If you avoid sales, you avoid scale. Founders who try to outsource sales too early or who never build a real process end up stuck, or worst, at the mercy of one rainmaker. A real sales process means you can predictably convert interest into revenue, handle objections, and close with confidence. If this lever is broken, you'll notice a few things. Inconsistent closes and awkward calls, discounting to win deals, low trust, and let me think about it stalls. I've seen agencies double close rates in 60 days just by tightening up their sales process and shifting to a trust-first approach. Founders who avoid sales avoid scale. 4. Delivery model. This is where most agencies bleed. If your fulfillment is custom, chaotic, or founder-reliant, you'll never scale. A scalable delivery model is systemized, fixed scope, and produces repeatable results with clear margins. This is where churn dies and margins grow. If this lever is broken, you'll notice a few things. Scope creep and margin bleed, high churn and client complaints, founder as a safety net for every project. If your agency bleeds in fulfillment, no amount of growth will save you. Finally, leadership and team culture. You don't scale by hiring people. You scale by installing systems that people run. Your agency isn't a family, it's a sports team. Every player has a role, a scoreboard, and accountability. When you build a culture of owner energy, your team performs. You get leverage, not just headcount. If this lever is broken, you'll notice a few things. Your team depends on you for every decision. Constant approval and chaos. No accountability or clear roles. I've seen teams go from founder drag to self-managing in 90 days with the right leadership framework. If you feel like you're dragging your team uphill or that you're the only one that cares, this is the lever that you want to focus on. This might be exactly what you're feeling. You've got some of these levers working, but one or two are missing, and that's where the friction is. When these 5 levers are in place, growth gets simple. Clients stay longer, your team performs, you stop being the bottleneck, and your agency finally becomes scalable and sellable. If you're wondering which lever is usually quietly broken, it's almost always delivery and leadership. Because you can hide these problems with hustle until you try to scale. In the next section, I'll show you how these levers fit together into one single integrated system, so you can see exactly where to focus next. Let's get into it. The integrated system map. So you've seen the 5 core levers. Maybe you've already spotted the one that you're missing. Remember at the start when I said that there's a structural mistake that traps agencies even when revenue is growing? This is it. You're fixing levers in isolation instead of building a connected system. But here's the truth most agency owners miss. Even if you fix one lever, nothing truly changes unless they're connected. Let me show you why. Most agencies grow like this. One fix at a time. They hire a sales rep, rebuild their offer, create a few SOPs. But every move feels like putting out fires on a sinking ship. It's like fixing one traffic light in a city grid and expecting the whole city to flow. You don't get scale, you get gridlock. Imagine your agency like a power grid. If one transformer is overloaded, the whole system flickers. One weak line and the lights go out across the map. That's what happens when your offer is misaligned. Your sales process burns out. Your delivery bleeds margin. The lights flicker even when revenue goes up. Real scale comes from orchestration. When your offer attracts the right clients, your content brings them in. Your sales process converts them cleanly, your delivery fulfills with precision, and your team executes with clarity. Now the whole system hums. Growth becomes predictable, problems become solvable. This is why founders burn out. They think they're building a business, but they're patching symptoms. They're fixing marketing when the problem is offer positioning. They're blaming sales when the real issue is lead quality. They're firing team members when the actual problem is unclear leadership. Disconnected efforts feel like chaos. Connected systems feel like momentum. Once you see your agency as one integrated system, you stop guessing. You start diagnosing, and you start growing on command. One of my clients was stuck at $60K a month for 9 months straight. Every win added more weight. But once we connected her sales process to a focused offer and dialed in her delivery, she scaled to $110K a month in 90 days with fewer calls and more control. This is the shift. You don't need more tools. You need alignment. You need a system where every part powers the next. Once you understand how to make these systems talk to each other, you stop guessing. You start growing on command. So let me ask you, which of these levers is out of sync for you right now? Now that we've mapped the system, let's talk about what happens when it's running smoothly and you're ready to scale harder. In the next section, I'll show you how to add rocket fuel to these systems using the strategy most agency owners never even consider: enterprise sales mastery. Let's get into it. Enterprise sales mastery, advanced growth lever. Now here's the secret sauce I was telling you about. You might think enterprise sales is only for agencies with hundreds of employees and polished decks. But the truth is, once you have the right systems, perceptions, and offer, it's way closer than you think. This is where you move beyond chasing small projects and start landing the kind of deals that transform your agency trajectory forever. So why enterprise sales? I've personally closed over $25 million in enterprise contracts. And I can tell you, the difference between agencies that plateau and those that break through isn't just systems. It's the ability to win, deliver, and retain high-value, high-trust B2B clients. Most agency founders are stuck in freelancer-style deals. Short-term, low margin, always hustling for the next project. But real scale comes from building a pipeline of enterprise clients. The kind of clients who value expertise, pay for outcomes, and stick around for years. Most agencies are fishing in crowded ponds. Enterprise sales moves you to deeper waters with fewer fish, but each one changes your year. Enterprise sales isn't about scripts or spam. It's about perception control, positioning, and trust. When you have the right foundation, outbound and cold outreach become viable again, but only when you lead with authority, tonality, and a high trust frame. Core concepts of enterprise sales. Let's break down what separates B2B sales that scales from deals that trap you. Perception control. You're not just selling a service, you're selling a strategic partnership. Enterprise buyers need to see you as a peer, not a vendor. Multi-threaded sales. You're not closing one decision maker. You're building consensus across multiple stakeholders. Legal, finance, marketing, operations. This is where most agencies get lost. Enterprise pricing power. You're not negotiating on price. You're anchoring on value, outcomes, and risk reduction. This is how you command 6 and 7-figure contracts. Longer sales cycles, higher LTV. Yes, enterprise deals take longer to close, but the payoff is stability, predictability, and a client base that lets you plan years ahead. Inside my mentorship, we don't just teach enterprise sales, we help you build the back-end systems so you can actually deliver on those deals at scale. This connects delivery and sales authority together. When you get this right, you unlock a new lever of confidence and stability in your business. You stop worrying about the next month's cash flow. You start thinking in years instead of weeks. This is the lever that separates operators from rainmakers and turns your pipeline into a real growth engine. In the next section, we'll talk about the operator to CEO transition and how mastering these levers lets you finally step out of the weeds and lead your agency like a true owner. Let's get into it. From operator to CEO, core system shift. Earlier in this video, I promised we'd talk about the shift that changes everything. Moving from agency operator to a true CEO. This is the transition most founders never make. And it's the reason why so many agencies plateau, burn out, or never become sellable. Let's break down what this shift really looks like. Operator versus CEO. The real difference. Most agency owners start off as operators. You're in the trenches, solving problems, putting out fires, making every decision. You're the engine, the brakes, and the steering wheel. But here's the truth. If you want freedom, scale, or the option to sell, you have to stop doing and start designing and leading. Operators are reactive. They spend their days firefighting, answering every Slack message, and jumping on every call. CEOs are proactive. They design systems, set directions, and build teams that solve problems without them. Markers of operator versus CEO behavior. Let's get specific. Operators rely on themselves. They're the bottleneck for every decision, every approval, every client escalation. CEOs install decision systems. They create frameworks so their team can make the right calls without constant supervision. Operators hire helpers. They look for people to take stuff off their plate but end up micromanaging. CEOs hire leaders. They build a bench of people who own outcomes, not just tasks. Operators measure workload. They pride themselves on how many hours they grind. CEOs measure leverage. They'll ask how much value is created if I'm not in that room. I've seen this shift happen in real time. One of my mentorship clients came to me stuck at $35K a month, great fulfillment, amazing team, but no leverage. We installed decision frameworks and a leadership protocol I like to call the decision ladder. In 90 days, he was at $70K a month, working half the time. That's the difference between delegating tasks and transferring authority. The emotional cost of staying an operator. I learned this the hard way. In my first agency, I was the operator. Every client, every project, every problem, my fingerprints were on it. We grew fast, but I was always on call. Vacations didn't exist. I got sick, the business slowed down. At my second agency, I started to let go, but not soon enough. I waited too long to hire real leaders. I held on to too many decisions, and the emotional cost was real. Stress, anxiety, the constant fear that one mistake will bring it all down. Most founders stay stuck here out of fear. Fear of letting go, fear of trusting others, fear of losing control. And if you've ever said, it's just easier if I do it myself, or I can't trust anyone else to handle it the right way, and you're not alone. That's the operator mindset, and it's the most difficult habit to unlearn. But here's the truth. If you want a business that grows without you, you have to become the CEO. What CEOs really do? CEOs don't just install SOPs. They install decision systems so the business can run, adapt, and grow without their constant input. CEOs don't just hire more hands. They hire leaders who can build, manage, and improve entire functions. CEOs don't just work harder. They measure and multiply leverage. This shift isn't optional. It's mandatory if you want freedom, scale, or a business that's actually worth something to a buyer. When you stop being the operator and start becoming the CEO, the business finally starts to grow without you. In the next section, we'll talk about how CEOs design for valuation and what it really takes to build a sellable agency. Let's get into it. Building a sellable agency, exit strategy for founders. Let's talk about something most agency founders never consider until it's too late. Building a sellable agency. You might be thinking, I'm not planning to sell, that's for later. But here's the truth. The best time to design for exit is long before you ever need to. I watch founders miss out on 7-figure exits because their ops were too messy to pass diligence. It doesn't matter how hard you work. If the business isn't clean, it won't sell. And if you wait until you need to exit, it's already too late. The exit mindset. Most founders see exit as a distant event, something to think about someday. But acquirers don't care about your hustle or your story. They look for a business that runs clean, runs smooth, and runs without you. What do they want to see? Clean financials, no messy books, no commingled accounts, no surprises. Defined offers, clear, outcome-driven services that are easy to understand and easy to sell. Systemized operations, documented processes, repeatable delivery, and clear accountability. Minimal founder dependency. The business can run and grow without you in the weeds. What makes an agency sellable? Let's get specific. A sellable agency has predictable revenue, retainers, contracts, and recurring work, not just one-off projects. Clean client contracts, transferable, enforceable, and clear on scope and terms. A team and delivery model that isn't reliant on the founder. Leaders, not helpers. Systems, not heroic. Brand clarity. A reputation and positioning that stands on its own. Clear reporting and margin structure. You know your numbers, your costs, and your profitability. And so does any buyer. I've sold 2 agencies. The first agency was high revenue but fragile. We had the numbers, but the business was still too dependent on me. It sold, but it was a grind. The process was long, the due diligence was painful, and the valuation reflected the risk. The second agency was built clean from day one. Defined offers, systemized ops, clean books, and the team that could run everything without me. This time, acquirers came to me. The process was faster, the terms were better, and the business was valued for what it was, not just what I could do. Why exit design is valuable even if you don't sell. Here's the real secret. Building for exit isn't just about selling. It's about building a business that's strong, stable, and valuable, with or without you. It forces you to build better systems. It creates real team accountability. It raises your margins and your valuation, and it gives you options. You can exit, partner, reinvest, raise capital, or simply step back and let the business run. When you design for exit, you build a business that works for you, not the other way around. When you start building like a future acquirer, you stop building for income. You start building for value. If you want to learn how to make your agency truly sellable, or just want to build a business that gives you freedom and options, this is what I help founders do every day. When you build for exit, you don't just create a business you can sell. You create a business you actually want to own. And once your agency becomes truly sellable, something amazing happens. You stop thinking in months and start thinking in decades. Because now, you're not just building for income, you're building for equity. And that's where we go next. How to turn your agency into a platform for long-term wealth while acquiring other businesses, building a holding company, and multiplying your leverage. Holding company and acquisition strategy. Once your agency is truly sellable, you gain something most founders never experience: freedom. Freedom to step back, to choose your next move, to think like a true owner. So the question becomes, now that your agency can run without you, what's next? The big idea, the holding company model. Let's talk about the holding company model. This isn't just about owning one agency. It's about stacking multiple businesses into a single powerful portfolio. Instead of putting all your chips on one business, you start to think like an investor, acquiring, integrating, and compounding cash flow across a group of companies. It's what I'm building at my current business and what I help other advanced founders do when they're ready to stop playing small. Why it matters. Most agency owners have one income stream. That's fragile. One market shift, one key client loss, one bad quarter, and everything's at risk. But when you roll up other businesses, you build real wealth and durability. Compare it like this. Would you rather have $100K a month from one fragile agency or $300K a month from 3 systemized, lean, cross-sold acquisitions? The difference isn't just the numbers. It's the stability, the leverage, and the freedom. How it works. Here's how it works in practice. You acquire agency A. Maybe it's strong in sales and has a loyal client base. You acquire agency B. Maybe it's got great ops or a creative team. You integrate them. Shared backend, shared systems, cross-selling services, remove redundancy. You don't run every business yourself. You orchestrate them. You install leaders, set direction, and set the platform to do the heavy lifting. It's simple. Acquire, integrate, cross-sell, remove redundancy, and then repeat. The real leverage shift. This is the real shift. You're not the operator. You're not even the CEO. You're the architect. You own the platform, and it grows whether you're in the room or not. This is how real wealth is built. Cash flow, equity, and time freedom, all compounding together. I mentor founders through their first acquisitions. I help multiple mentees roll up their first holding companies and watch them go from agency operators to true portfolio owners. One founder I mentored acquired a $40K a month ops agency for a 1.8x multiple, and within 60 days it was paying itself off through shared delivery alone. It's a different level of the game, and it's open to anyone who's built the right foundation. If you're ready to move beyond just cash flow, if you want to build a platform, acquire your first asset, and start your own holding company, this is the next level of mentorship I offer. Now that you've seen the full stack offer, sales, delivery systems, exit, and acquisitions, let's bring it all together in the final section. Final chapter, bringing it all together. If you've watched this far, one thing's probably clear. You're not broken, your model is. You've seen the difference between working in your agency, grinding, firefighting, being the bottleneck, and building a business that gives you leverage, freedom, and real options. The journey we've walked. Let's recap the path we've covered together. Phase 1, operator to CEO. When you stop doing and start designing. Phase 2, the 5 core levers. Offer, acquisition, sales, delivery, leadership. Phase 3, enterprise sales master. The lever that attracts high trust, high ticket clients. Phase 4, designing for exit, so your business is valuable with or without you. Phase 5, holding company strategy, where real wealth and freedom begins. If you've seen yourself in any of these chapters, if you felt the weight, the stuckness, the frustration, know this, you're not alone. Most agency owners never get this level of clarity. The founder journey is hard. You've done the hard part. You started. You survived. You built something real. But now it's time to scale intentionally. To build the agency you always wanted, not just the one that you ended up with. Here's my invitation to you. If you're a serious agency founder, if you're ready to move beyond hustle and chaos, and you want a clear, proven roadmap to scale, exit, and build actual wealth, I invite you to book a clarity call with me. This isn't a pitch, it's a perspective. A conversation from one founder to another about what's next and how to get there. I've built and sold 2 agencies. I've mentored founders through every stage of this roadmap. This isn't a course, a quick hack, or a one-size-fits-all template. It's real mentorship for people who are serious about building a real business. If that's you, the next step is simple. Book a call. Let's see if this is the right fit. Worst case, you walk away with clarity, whatever phase you might be in. And if you're not ready to make that jump, I totally get it. Luckily for you, I have a free community link below with like-minded agency owners that can help you get past whatever phase you might be stuck in. You've done the hard part. Now it's time to scale with intention, clarity, and confidence. See you on the next one.